We're live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the November meeting of the Philadelphia Land Bank. We are going to start with a statement from our attorney about holding virtual meetings.
Good morning, everyone. Today's board meeting is being held by an authorized communication device because of the continued closure of land bank offices to the public. This meeting is being recorded. Questions and comments may be made using the Q&A or raised hand button at the bottom of the screen. If you are calling in and not using the Zoom webinar link, you may ask questions or make comments by pressing *9 on your phone. You can also use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. Please do not use the chat function. If any member of the public has issues submitting questions or comments, please send an email to me at andrea.saw@phdc.phila.gov, and we will place that in the chat so you can read it. Please note all questions and comments received by email or through the Q&A function will be included in today's minutes. Also, prior to today's public session, the board held an executive session at which they reviewed the agenda and the responses that were received from the public to the agenda items. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll have a roll call.
All right. Let's see here. Alex Balloon, Rich DeMarco, Ann Fadulin,
Here.
Joshua Harris,
Here.
Maria Gonzalez,
Here.
Andrew Goodman,
Here.
Michael Coons,
Muted, Mike.
Michael, you're muted.
Here.
Thank you. Michael Johns,
Here.
Rebecca Lopez Chris,
I'm here.
Rick Sauer,
Here.
Majida Rashid.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum and can proceed.
Great. Thank you. And next we will review the minutes from the October Land Bank Board meeting. Hopefully the board has had a chance to review those minutes. If there are no comments or edits or questions, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve October board minutes.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to approve the minutes of the October 11th Philadelphia Land Bank Board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, and we're on to Executive Director's report.
Good morning, board members. I do not have, for interest of time, I don't have a board report.
Okay, thank you. And that brings us to item 4 on the agenda, which we have 2 items under this category, which are amendments to prior dispositions. We'll start with item number 4.1.
Thank you, Ann. Item number 4.1 is the first item in the administrative item. It's in regards to resolution number 2021-30, which was adopted by the board on June 8th of last year. It approves Savetta Property Group for the development of 1921 South 6th Street. Savetta was approved to develop a 1 single-family rental unit, which was in the 1st district or still in the 1st district. Pursuant to this approval, Savetta was approved to lease the property to a tenant with incomes at or below 120% of AMI. Today, the board is requested to amend the aforementioned resolution to approve the conversion of this unit from a rental to a home ownership opportunity, an affordable home ownership opportunity. Also looking to revise the AMI level from 120 AMI to 100 AMI, 100% of AMI. That'll allow the property to be eligible for a turnkey program subsidy to the home purchaser. The amendment will also set the maximum sales price for this particular unit at $280,000. The purchase price will remain at $10,000. Evidence of project financing has been submitted for current purposes. Applicants still in compliance and good standing with the city of Philadelphia. Projects also subject to an economic opportunity plan, which has been approved. The project will be subject to irrevocable power of attorney and right of reverter reentry as well. The transaction will include a declaration of restrictive covenants for the unit. It will be subject to use restrictions when income verification for a minimum of a 15-year term. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of the board have any questions on this item? Seeing none, it looks like we do have a member of the public who has their hand raised. Can we unmute Harry?
Yeah, how you doing? Can you hear
Good.
me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Can you
sorry.
please state your
I'm
full name for the record, please?
My name is Harry Pagan.
Great.
I'm sorry to disturb your meeting. I was inquiring a lot that I live next to. We've been taking care of the lot for about 20 some years, 20 plus years. We did file an application for it about 2 years ago when the pandemic first arrived, and we never received no information. After that, I did turn around, contact somebody in the city through email. Is there any way that we can use a lot as for the community as basically a garden, or no?
So my apologies if it's someone, we did not get back to you on that. So I'll look into that with the staff as to why you didn't receive a response from us. In this area, the priority is for development of affordable housing, not for side yards and gardens. So if you went through the web portal, it would have informed you that side yards are not available in this defined area. So I apologize for that. When we look through, because we posted this as an RFP, we wouldn't be considering a side yard or garden application.
What applications do you consider?
It was for development. The RFP was posted on our website, and it was a bundle of properties, and we were looking for applications that would support the objective to produce affordable housing.
Is it possible we could still purchase the property, being as though we live next door to it, or is that off the table?
At this point, we went through the application process, and we've identified a qualified developer, and that is what the board is considering right now.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak to this item? Oh, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, and just wanted to make a note of clarity. I actually said the incorrect purchase price. It should be set at maximum $275,000, not 280.
Okay,
Just want to make that note.
thank you for that clarification.
Mhm.
And I don't see any other hands raised, so I'll take a motion on this side. Oh, wait, sorry, we just had two hands go up. Can we unmute Millicent Clark, please?
Yes, this is Millicent Clark. Again, I wanted to just confirm the address that was in question for this vote.
It's 1921 South 6th Street.
So I understand also that the side yards are not available for certain properties that's listed. But at the same time, and a question was raised as far as there's still opportunity to purchase. I know there's several members in the community that I've heard from, and they've had interest in several properties that's next door adjacent to their properties. I don't know if it's, with it being already designated to an applicant since last year. I'm not sure if I heard the time that it was approved by the applicant last year, but I don't know if it's definitely not too late to reconsider some of those properties adjacent to some of the.
So if I could, just to clarify, what's before the board is an amendment to a previous disposition made last year in June. This property has already been determined it was posted for competitive sale. We selected a developer. We are now trying to increase the affordability. This property was not available for side yard disposition. If people are interested in going and applying for a side yard, we do have a website portal specifically designed to identify if you are the owner occupant of your home and there is a property next door and we happen to own it, that website will take you through the process of identifying that and allowing you to apply for it. We will put that link in the chat for everybody to see. But in this case, this item has already been determined for development, so it's not available to reconsider for a side yard. What we're considering right now It's for increased affordability.
Okay, so we would have to oppose that question to some of the other items in some of the future agenda items on today's meeting.
No, so I think, again, to clarify, right? It's already been determined that this particular lot that we're considering right now is already been approved for development. What we're considering here is reducing the affordability from 120% to 100% of median. So the answer is no, it's not going to be, there's no potential for a side yard on this lot. However, if you have members of your community that may be interested in other lots as side yards, you can access that through the website, which Angel will post in the agenda, in the chat, which just got posted now. So we would encourage you to go to that website and identify if there may be some other lots available for side yards.
Okay,
Thank you. And now we have, it looks like Shakira B.
Hi, yes, my question was, I don't know if you guys mentioned it or not, but is the deed restriction 10 or 15 years?
For this property, the deed restriction is 10 years. Oh, sorry, 15 years for the first home buyer. And then it would repeat for the next two home buyers should the first home buyer sell before the compliance period. So if the home buyer buys the house in the 5th year, they want to move because of life changes, the compliance period resets for the second home buyer. And the second home buyer has to qualify as income certified. And then we have to, we would set the resale price. And then the 15 years would reset.
Okay.
And the next hand we have up is, I just have a phone number that is a 215 and ends in 789.
And they might need to press *6 to unmute themselves.
There we go. Go ahead, please. Caller, you should be unmuted. Unfortunately, we can't hear the caller. So it looks like Harry has his hand up again. Harry, we'll give you 1 minute to ask an additional question, but we like to give folks a bite at the apple and then kind of move on for folks' time. So go ahead, Harry.
Yeah, I'm sorry again. The question I had when I have applied for the lot, it was 2 years prior to this, and you said at the meeting that it was basically the applicants was from a year ago. So I applied for the lot 2 years before that.
Right.
But never, because of the pandemic was never basically contacted. That still doesn't mean nothing.
And I apologize for that. I will find out what happened.
The only reason
you should have been informed that it wasn't available for side yard.
Well, no,
disposition.
2 years ago, this wasn't even an issue. And the reason why we applied for it was because the lot we actually used for a safe haven for the youth. We actually have like a garden in there. We have like stuff for the kids for when they come out of work. I'm appreciative for all the development that's going on in our city, but there's no parks or there's no spot for our kids to even go in our community to have a spot to hang out or meet together. Hello,
Andrea, you wanted to comment?
Yes, I just wanted to point out to everyone that this property, 1921 South 6th Street, was already.
No, it's not 1921 6th Street. I'm calling about Franklin Street.
Yeah,
Well, we're not
okay. I think we have a lot, time out. I think we have a lot of confusion here, right? I would just want to be clear that what the board is considering right now is 1921 South 6th Street.
Okay.
Harry, and I'm sorry, Harry, I forgot your last name.
Yeah,
and I don't mean disrespect by using your first name, but I think probably what needs to happen is that you need to reach to staff to find out about the specific lot that you're talking about.
How do I contact staff? Because I tried already multiple times.
So Jesse or Angel, can you put your contact information in the chat so that Harry can reach out to find out exactly what's happening. So there you go, Harry. Jesse put his email in the chat, and hopefully can get a response, and we can find out what's happening with the lot that you're interested in.
Okay, I'm sorry to disturb y'all again. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You have a good one.
All right. Heather B, if you have I have another hand up by Heather B again. I just want to remind folks that the lot we're considering is 1921 South 6th Street. And we are not considering whether or not we will dispose of this to the developer. That has already been determined. The answer to that is yes. What we are considering is increasing the affordability level to make it more affordable. That is the question before the board today. Okay. I don't see any other hands, so I'm going to call the question. Can I get a motion on this item?
I make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, motion has
second.
been made and properly seconded to approve the amendment to 1961 South 6th Street to allow the affordability to move from 120% AMI to 100% AMI, and for this unit to become a home ownership unit to make it potentially eligible for the Turn the Key program. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then our next one is again another amendment to an already approved disposition. It's item number 4.2 concerning 2544 South 5th Street.
Thanks again, Ann. Item 4.2 is in regard to resolution number 2021-31, which was adopted by the board last year on June 8th. It approved Savetta Property Group for the development of 2544 South 5th Street. Savetta was approved to develop one single family rental unit. Pursuant to this approval, Savetta was approved to lease the property to a tenant with incomes at or below 120% of AMI. The board today is requested to amend the aforementioned resolution to approve the conversion of this unit from rental to affordable, actually converting it to an affordable home ownership unit, revising the area medium income level for this unit from 120% to 100% of AMI. Which will allow the home to be eligible for Turn the Key program subsidy to the home purchaser. The amendment will also set the maximum sales price for the affordable home ownership unit at $275,000. Purchase price will remain at $10,000. The evidence of project financing has been provided. The applicant remains in compliance and in good standing with the city of Philadelphia. An economic opportunity plan will stand as approved. The project will also be subject to irrevocable power of attorney, right of re-entry reverter. And the transaction will include a declaration of restrictive covenants, and the unit will be subject to a use restriction and income verification process for a minimum of 15 years. Thanks.
Thank you, Jesse. And again, just to clarify for members of the public that are listening in on the meeting, this is another amendment, so this lot has already been approved for disposition. And again, it's being amended to create a home ownership unit at a deeper affordability level, going from 120% of AMI to 100% of AMI. Any questions from the board on this item? Any members of the public that wish to speak to this item? Seeing none, can I get a motion from the board?
Make a motion to approve. I second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to approve the amendment to the disposition of 2544 South 5th Street to convert it to a home ownership unit and to lower the affordability level from 120% AMI to 100% AMI. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to section 5 of the agenda, which is property dispositions. The first one that we are going to consider is a project with the development of affordable housing, and this was an unsolicited application.
Correct, and thank you. So today we're asking the board to authorize the disposition of 15 properties that are located in Point Breeze. to Fine Print Construction LLC. Fine Print is looking to develop a 44-unit mixed income home ownership and rental project, which will also include one commercial unit for property management purposes. Fine Print is a certified minority business enterprise here in the city. Properties requested by the applicant include 2329 Ellsworth Street, 2445 Federal, 2315, 2316, 2317, 2318, 2337, 2339, and 2349 Greenwich Street. They're also including 1709, 1711 on Point Breeze Avenue, and also 1822 rear to 34 Point Breeze Avenue, 1836 Point Breeze Avenue as well, and 1555 South Ringgold Street. The specific breakdown of units to be developed is as follows. There will be 8 affordable two-story single-family homeownership units that will be sold to households with incomes at or below 80% of AMI. Each of those units will be 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, approximately 980 square feet. These homes will be on Greenwich Street and Ringgold Street as well, and sold for a maximum sales price of $250,000. There are also 3 triplexes that will be built on 1709, 1711, and Point Breeze Avenue, and 2329 Ellsworth Street as well. Those 3 triplexes will contain 9 affordable rental units. Each unit will be 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, ranging between 550 square feet to 770 square feet. There's 1 affordable duplex, which will be built at 2445 Federal Street, containing 1 larger 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom rental unit, which is roughly 1,067 square feet, and 1 smaller 2-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom rental unit, which is roughly 954 square feet. The proposal also includes a 4-story mixed-use multifamily rental building that will be built on the parcels located on the 1800 block of Point Breeze Avenue in this particular proposal. These will contain 21 market rate units and 4 affordable units that will be leased to households with incomes at or below 80% of AMI. The multifamily building will be approximately 16,000 square feet, containing a mix of 11 studios, 8 1-bedrooms, 6 2-bedroom units, and then of course the management office as well. All affordable units, again, will target tenants with incomes at or below 80% of AMI, essentially leasing affordable units, 14 2-bedroom rental units, and the 1 3-bedroom unit as well. This proposal, again, was unsolicited and evaluated pursuant to the disposition policy. The developer plans to purchase the property for $26,000. All project financing has been provided. The applicant is compliant and good standing with the city of Philadelphia. Will be subject to an economic opportunity plan as well, subject to an irrevocable power of attorney and right of re-entry and reverter. And the property will be subject to use restrictions and income verifications for a period of 15 years as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And again, there's a lot of information for the folks listening at home. So just to clarify, this is the first time that we are considering this for disposition for development. It's 44 units, 8 of which are home ownership, 32 of which are rental units, all at affordability level of 80% of AMI or below. Any questions or comments on this item from the board?
I believe this was the project I spoke briefly about in the executive session. I think overall, I think that the fact that they're doing affordable housing is a good thing. I do have a serious concern with the size of the units and the layout of some of the units, particularly the single family unit and I believe it's the triplex unit. Where there is a kitchen and living room, which is literally a hallway, which is very concerning for me. I think we have to think about the long-term, viability of these units that we're building in these neighborhoods. We don't want to be in a situation where we're building something that really does not work for families. If we're building stuff for students, or for single individuals, that's a different story. But if the intent of these units is for families, I think we need some sort of minimum standards or something that we should be considering when we're building these developments. You know, my background in public housing tells me that units that don't work in the long run ultimately destroy a neighborhood. And so I'm very concerned with the size of these units and the way that they're laid out. I think this developer, I commend the developer for doing affordability, but I think they need to go back to the drawing table and look at the way that these units are laid out and make them more livable for families.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I share the same concerns as Michael. You know, as it relates to the economic viability of these units long term. Initially, they may be desirable because they're in a desirable part of the city, but over time, would they be economically viable for families? And that's something that we need to take under consideration and really look at what are the minimum size standards for units that are desirable, marketable, and sustainable long term in our neighborhoods.
Thank you. And I see that board member Lopez Chris has her hand up.
I mean, I think those are really appropriate criticisms of this project. I mean, some of these units are less than 500 square feet, which is really cute at IKEA, but it's definitely not going to work for families. I think the one question would be is if this development was filled with single people or perhaps students, would that leave more housing in the neighborhood that's not cut up for students, right? Would it create a positive externality?
And board member Goodman.
Thanks. And just one, I guess, a question that I have about specifically the big multifamily building proposal is how emergency access will be handled, since the parcel is kind of uniquely shaped with not a whole lot of street frontage. Obviously, that does happen in a old city like Philadelphia, right, where you end up with these flag lots. They're not entirely uncommon, but require a different sort of approach. So if the applicant is on the call, I'll just ask how they're looking at that.
Great. Yes, I do think it would be appropriate if we do have the developer and the applicant on the call.
His hand is raised.
Okay, can we unmute Mr., and I apologize if I mispronounce this, but Dawood Bey.
Yes, how you doing? My name is
Hi.
Dawood. You did actually great, man. Thank you.
Great.
I'll start with the last question, I guess, because it's at the top of my mind. In regards to the easement, is an easement in the back of this particular property, 1832 Point Breeze, is an easement right in the back of the property. It's about 15 feet easement. And that easement is going to allow us to have another path of entry to get in and out of the building. And one of the reasons why I actually put that into the design was to also control the trash, because I got a trash chute and a trash lobby in the back, and on each floor we have trash chutes on each floor, and this will allow the trash truck to be able to ride in and go straight on out to the left and out back on Mifflin Street and out of the way of the property. So that's the reason. I believe that's the good enough answer for that one. In regards to the size of the units, these are basically like placeholders as it relate to the designs and things, because being as though I'm a starter, not a start, but a smaller developer, I would say. I don't want to, but as a smaller developer starting out, I didn't really have all of the funding to actually put all of the schematics and everything together, and with the board here, well, some of the people from PHDC allowed me to do was just to put it in block form in order to be able to really show exactly what the floor layouts was going to be and some of the sizes. So I think some of these sizes is going to change and some of these dimensions would change once like the architect actually get on the ground and do real measurements with his dimensions and things to that extent. But these properties, particularly on Greenwood Street, is the same exact size as far as the frontage and how deep they are. They're the same size property that Cavetta did. My niece actually bought one of the properties that Cavetta did on Wilder Street. And there is some size issues, but I believe we'll be able to have a better design because we had an opportunity to look at some other designs prior to our development. And I think we'll be able to make those adjustments quite better. And we're going to put basements in there. So instead of being slab on grade, it's also going to have basements. And that way, it's going to create more room and space for more better quality of life.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. And now, before I call for additional public comment, I'm going to go to our attorney, Andrea, to see if she has received any comments from the folks prior to the meeting.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We received quite a few emails, comments. The first two were from Colin Barrett and Rajveer Yutla. I apologize if I'm butchering that. And they were mostly asking about what types of homes would be built, who would qualify to build those homes, what type of construction would be done, basements or not, the expertise of the construction companies. So they were concerned primarily about who would be moving in, what types of homes, and the quality of the construction. We also had emails from Tara Bruce and Ella Bruce opposing a primarily rental development, and highlighting the need for affordable home ownership at 60% of AMI or below, as well as community use types of development. And also concerned about the increasing density of development in the neighborhood. And then finally, we received 3 letters of support from community organizations, RCOs, Point Breeze Community Development Coalition, Point Breeze Community Network Plus, and Tasker Morris Neighborhood Association. They had met with the developer and are all in support of the project. I actually clarified they had met at one of the community meetings that we held.
Thank you. And now we'll turn it to public comment. And so members of the public who are interested in commenting, please raise your hand and we will. So let me just say how we handle this traditionally is you get a couple minutes to tell us your, either your support or your concerns. We don't get into a big back and forth typically. And so I ask you to try to cover everything you can. When we call on you, because we have a lot to get through today, and so we probably won't call on the same person more than once for the same agenda item, but we do want to definitely hear from you and hear your comments. So with that, let's unmute Colin.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Colin Barrett, 2335 Greenwood Street. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Yeah, Andrea, thank you. You pretty much covered a lot of my concerns, via the email that you and I had back and forth. One question, and I guess I'll just, spurt off 2 of the questions and concerns that I had right here. I know you said there were, in this whole proposal, there were probably about 44 units that were being proposed, 8 of which I think you said were for ownership, and the other remaining ones were for rental. The first question is, which those units going up on Greenwich, are they for rental? Are they for ownership? That's the one question. Second question is particularly around the construction expertise. It sounds like one of my questions was answered, that there are going to be basements proposed for the housing that's being built on Greenwich Street. I guess I want to make sure whether or not there's going to be proper approaches taken for the basements, particularly underpinning. I know when a lot of these older row homes were made way back in the day, they may not have been properly done, at least up to code to how basement houses are being developed today. So I'm just concerned about the impacts of building next door to my house, how that may impact my house. And, God forbid anything bad happens, what type of guarantees or what type of safeguards are being put in place to protect me and my home from any type of effects from building next door. So those are my concerns, and I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you. So Jesse, can you answer the question particularly about whether they're going to be homeownership or rental units on.
Correct, correct. So
residential
the ones that Colin, I believe, asked about are going to be homeownership units on Greenwich Street. He's asked about that. Those will be homeownership opportunities on Greenwich Street.
Okay, and in terms of the construction questions and all that, I'm gonna hold those. I'm gonna hear all the public comment, and then we're gonna go back to the developer applicant to answer any comments about on the actual construction or project at the end of public comment. So next hand raised I see is David Langley.
Hello.
Hi, you're unmuted. Go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Thanks. So my name is Dave Langley. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. I'm the executive director of the Philadelphia Accelerator Fund. And we're a nonprofit organization created a couple years back to expand opportunities for historically disadvantaged groups as well as nonprofits, particularly Black and Brown owned and led to build affordable housing in the city. The Accelerator Fund raises private capital, and we aim to leverage our resources as effectively as possible to bring along additional bank financing to reverse historic disinvestment in Philadelphia. Part of what we were able to do actually is provide pre-development financing, which would typically be unavailable to smaller developers like Fine Print, who cannot secure bank debt. And that's part and parcel of getting designs and units, architectural drawings, engineering in place to build these homes. So Fine Print Construction is precisely the kind of development company we're proud to partner with. And so I wanted to add my voice just briefly in strong support of this project. We're looking to provide Dawood with a $1.9 million second position mortgage loan in partnership with a senior lender. And I think as noted, the project will create 24 units of affordable housing at 80% AMI and a mix of homeownership and rental. Dawood, I think, and he can talk about this more himself, but he has deep roots in South Philadelphia. He's been a strong advocate of the city's minority developer program and of ambitious hiring goals for underrepresented groups and at-risk youth. And we're sure we'll submit a robust economic opportunity plan. And so we're asking for the board's support on behalf of the Accelerator Fund to allow for an impactful affordable housing development from an accomplished MB certified construction firm. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Shakira B.
Hi, yes, I just wanted to say that I am in strong support of Fine Print LLC. I have lived in South Philly for over 30 years. In regards to some of the concerns as far as the floor plans, I just wanted to say that, I did appreciate Dawood saying that the sizing will change and there will be extra storage space added. I believe that it will work for the appropriate family because a family starts at one, correct? So when thinking of this, the floor plans and how it should be played out, we want to consider that. Me personally, I know people who are coming from Ohio, Detroit, and New York, and they're extremely excited for the affordable homes. And because of different jobs that are created, they are moving here. And like I said, very much excited. And that's all I wanted to say. I'm in strong support of the Fine Print Construction.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. I don't see any other hands up, so I'm going to ask Mr. Bay to come back on. Oh, we have a LMA Bruce. Oh, here comes a bunch of hands. Okay. LMA Bruce first.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I did send an email, but after listening to some of the comments, I wanted to actually speak on what I addressed in my written statement. I'm very concerned about this project, and I'm looking at the fact sheets, and I see a number of almost $2,200 a month for a rental for rent. That is not affordable. When we're talking, I'm trying to think of the way to say it. It doesn't go far enough with the affordability. I don't even know where to start. It should be 100% affordable. There should be nothing in this project that doesn't address affordable housing. This one unit, they're saying it's 25. There'll be 25 market rate and then 4 affordable. Every single property, if they're given this, every single unit should be affordable, not 4 out of 25. These plans do not address a family. When you're talking about studios or 1 bedrooms, a family cannot afford these type of rents. And that's what needs to be addressed on these city-owned properties, that nothing should be market rate. Everything should be geared towards affordable housing, lower income families and moderate income families. So hopefully I said everything I wanted to say, because I know I won't get another shot. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Ms. Bruce, and I have to correct what I said at the top of this because I gave the impression that all of these units would be affordable, and Ms. Bruce is actually correct. It looks like the 8 home ownership units are affordable at 80% of AMI. That the triplex and duplex units are also, which looks like another 11 units are affordable at 80% of AMI or below. But however, then there's a multifamily building that's 26 units, of which only 4 of those are affordable at 80% of AMI or below. So this is definitely a 50-50% mix. 22 of the multifamily units are market rate, and then 22 units are at 80% of median or below, and those are a mix of rental and home ownership. So I stand corrected. We have the next person we have is Albert Littlepage.
Good morning, board.
Good morning.
And all representatives and community persons that are listening. So I found the comments to be quite interesting. And I really just wanted to just first and foremost say that I support the project first and foremost, because a lot of the community people, especially some on the call, advocated for a minority contractor to come in and build in South Philly. Now we have one, and the opposition seems to be somewhat stronger. The second thing is that on Point Breeze Avenue, we have over 200 units, I believe, being built for college students. And I didn't see any real objection to that. And when we talked about the size of the units, I live at 17th and Morris, a house across the street from me where the lady rents it out to 3 different college students, whoever wants to rent her place. Some of the smaller units in this particular project would suffice for a single person, would suffice for a college student, or I mean, again, some people may want to live by themselves and maybe want a smaller place based on, economic disadvantages or advantages. So I think 50-50 in this project is good, but I think one of the things that I keep hearing, and maybe this is not for this call, but you talk about affordability, workforce housing, and low income housing. Somebody has to talk about realistic affordability, right? One of the projects that you talked about early on here said that the affordability was 110, and then they broke it down to 100. This gentleman is saying, Daoud is saying he's doing it for 80. Now, to come on and say you want somebody to build something that's 62% affordability, well, that's a different conversation of what type of funding you get in order to manifest this particular project. And I think we have to take that into consideration. But I think this is a dynamic project for Point Breeze. I think the developer could do an excellent job. He's put a lot of energy in it. He's went around, did his homework, talked to everybody. And I know that we submitted a letter in support of it. There needs to be some minor changes in order to make this project happen. I'm sure Daoud would look at that and make sure that those things take place. But I think we have to give consideration to allowing this gentleman to build this project because I think it's for the betterment of Point Breeze and the entire community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Littlepage. And next I'm going to go to Claudia Sherrod.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone on the board and to all the attendees. I am strongly in support of this project. I am the president of the Point Breeze Community Network Plus. I am the former director of South Philadelphia Homes Incorporated and the former president of Point Breeze CDC. I have lived in this area 63 years. I have seen families live on Greenwich Street, and they had an excess of 6 people in the house. They were not overcrowded. They're small houses. Unless you put 2 together, they're not going to get any larger. And I think what Daoud is proposing is an excellent project. not for my sake, but for the sake of people who are coming along today who do not want to overtax house and paying all them utility bills. To say that he should do more than what he's doing the ultimate. And I applaud him and I support him, and many of my neighbors support him. So go ahead, Dawood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sherrod. And next, I'm going to recognize Tara Bruce.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for time to listen to me. My concern in regards to these particular projects, this particular project, the single family homes, affordable, I don't have a real concern with at this point, but I am very concerned about the rental properties and the duplexes. And I know that was stated that some of these were mock-ups, so that it may not be the best depiction of it, because there was one that I think was a triplex and it had the steps on the outside, which I don't feel like that is a proper way or a safe way or even a current way of housing the steps for 3 units in Point Breeze at this point. What I will say is that sometimes we think that one, with these particular projects, and I know that you've heard me speak before, I'm very concerned with any land bank properties being used in the practice of almost private practices. And so that's where my concern is in regards to this, not in regards to minority or traditional or any of the, I just want what is absolutely best for this particular community. And those particular rental properties at this time will increase density once again. And I'm not sure if the lot where it has the commercial would provide the business that we actually need. I just want to say this, in Point Breeze, from almost Broad Street to, I want to say 33rd, and then from Washington to Oregon, there is no real supermarket within those spaces. And I know that they're developing and things like that, but they're in that commercial space. Even the conversation of what can be put in there needs to also be talked about in this particular project. I know this is his first time up, and so I'm not saying that it's everything, he's ironed out everything, but those are concerns for me, and the rental is not something that I feel in that particular space is ideal. I thank you again, and as you already have my letter in regards to my stance as well.
Thank you, Ms. Bruce.
Thank you.
And next we have Rachel Pritzker.
Good morning, members of the board. I was not planning to speak. I am not the attorney for this matter. I want to make that clear. I'm here for another matter, but I just wanted to say, you know, I've known Dawood a long time, and it's taken an incredible amount of work and energy on his part to even get here to the point where he could submit an application for this, partner with another developer, get the funding organized, get the plans organized, and do something in a community in which he has advocated for, supported, blood, sweat, and tears for many, many years. And I also want to mention that it has taken an incredible effort from members of this board, the land bank, the minority developer program, to try to pull something together where an individual like Dawood and others of us who are women and other minorities who don't have the same opportunities can even work through a process like this and develop a number of units that will help the city. This isn't going to fix affordable housing for our city, but I think it's an amazing step in the right direction. And Dawood is somebody who is honorable and will do what he says he's going to do. And I just want to make it clear that all of us in the real estate community have seen sort of the efforts that have been made by both the board and Dawood in trying to get to this place. So I just think that that should be commended. And, you know, everything has room for improvement, but it's an amazing jumping off point. And I just I'm very pleased for him and happy that he was able to get to this point. So he has my full support. I know there's a lot of others of us in this community that are standing up, clapping, excited to see his success. And, you know, hope you take some of that into consideration as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And now I'm going to recognize all right, let me try this again. I had it in my head. Daia Turner Bay. Ms. Bay, Mr. Bay?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry. Good morning to the board.
Okay. Good morning.
My name is Daia Turner, and I'm in support of this project. I lived in the area for 30 years, and in my adult life, I've seen projects being built in this neighborhood, and it kind of make me feel like an imposter because I can't afford to live in the place where I grew up. So that's why I'm in full support of this project, because with the affordable homes being built, that might give me an opportunity with my 3 kids to live in a good place. So I fully support this project.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. And next, I'm going to recognize Mo Rushdie.
Good morning, Anne and the esteemed board. Thank you so much for recognizing me, Anne. I am testifying on behalf of the Building Industry Association. I am Vice President of the BIA, and I just wanted to put a good word for Dawood and for others that the BIA has been mentoring over the last couple of years, a series of Black and Brown developers, and have been encouraging them to apply for public land and be part of the robust affordable housing kind of ideas that we have to increase housing supply in the city of Philadelphia. I want to also say that, when we say the word market rate, I want us to put this in perspective, that due to the low basis of the land, a deal like that, the market rate units actually range between 55% to 75% AMI. I'm talking about the market rate ones, and that we can talk in detail about the exact numbers here. So again, I encourage the board to allow and give opportunity for a lot of these minority developers that are out there that we're mentoring to take advantage of a great program. Angel, Jesse from the Land Bank have been very cooperative in that mentorship program through the MDP program. And we're trying to bring housing supply, increase it so we can get more affordable units on the market. So again, I would second Rachel on her sentiments, commend Dawood for all the effort that he has put into this deal. And I hope that the board approves it. Thank you so much, Anne, for your for the time.
Thank you. And next we have Shakira Berryman. Go ahead, Miss Berryman, excuse me. All right, hopefully we can come back to Miss Berryman. It seems to be an issue with getting her unmuted. So in the interim, I'm going to recognize Derek Kane. Did we lose Derek? He put his hand down?
He lowered his hand, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, now he raised it again.
Okay. Go ahead, Derek, if you can unmute yourself. Are we having an issue with people being able to unmute? Because we seem to have the same issue.
How about now?
Oh, there we go. Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Sorry about that. My name is Derek Kane. I'm also an aspiring developer, minority developer, going through the mentoring program that Mo spoke of. I want to echo Mo and Rachel's sentiment as far as supporting Dawood in this project, going through what he's been through and understanding how difficult the process is, especially for minorities, is definitely challenging, but it doesn't stop us. And I want to, just support that project, but also to echo what Rachel was saying earlier. This is not, of course, going through this process, it's not the all-in answer, but it's a huge step towards dealing with communities and also affordable housing. So I just appreciate the fact of the work that Dawood put in, and Mo and everyone at the Accelerator program, and also want to just make sure and hopefully have the support of the board with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see if we can get Shakira Berryman back. Ms. Berryman, are you able to unmute yourself? You should be able to. There we go. Go ahead, Ms. Berryman.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. My name is Tabitha. It looks like Shakira.
I'm sorry, you're listed as
Shakira
Shakira Berryman on my screen. I apologize for that.
That's the way that I access the Zoom. I'm sorry. This is from her her text. But anyway, I'm sorry. My name is Tabitha Fulton, and I'd like to say hello to the Zoom, to the board, and to all the public who's in the meeting currently. I just want to. I am Dao's wife. I am in support of the project, and I just want to I want to speak on commending Dao for his hard work on the project. He's very passionate and perseverant because he's from, well, one, because he is from South Philly and the Point Breeze area, yes, but he's just a very passionate person in regards to people and wanting to give back to the community. And he's let me slow down. He's always been this way. He's always wanted to help people, and this is his way of helping people who, like Daya said, who are from the area, who are not able to live in the area because they have because of the lack of affordable housing. And he also has spoken on one. If you guys know him, I'm sorry if I'm sound confusing, but if you guys know him, you know that he's been a strong advocate for gun violence, and that's also his approach to the project, because he like to be able to help in that area, to give people something to lose, like to having something to lose will help benefit the public in gun violence, because if you have something to lose, you're not going to let me think of the right word. You aren't going to be so quick to do something reckless. You understand what I'm saying? So that's another point. And we have discussed making changes, so he is willing to make changes on the project. And so that's it. And I just like to say that I'm in strong support. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fulton. Okay, I have two more hands up. I'm going to recognize those two hands, and then I'm going to close public comment because we're going to have to move on with the agenda. And I think the board has a good handle on the variety of issues involved with this project. So the next is Ibrahim Baya.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Good morning. Thank you to the board and to the public for being here today. I just wanted to speak in support of the project as well. I'm a young person who's looking to start a family in the near future. So, these kinds of homes are something that's perfect for someone like me. I know that we were talking about, some of the concerns with the projects, but being hands-on in this project, I know that there's a lot of room to address these concerns. And I just also wanted to speak to the character and the commitment to excellence that I've seen throughout this project. Like many people have said, there's been a lot of work to get us to this point. And I think through all of that work, we've shown that, we're capable of pivoting and addressing any issues that, board members or the public may have going forward. So, I just wanted to speak out in support of this project. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And next we have Altrina Nixon.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Altrina Nixon. Actually,
And we just lost you, Ms. Nixon. Okay, while we try to get Ms. Nixon back, can we hear very quickly from Ka'azim Bey?
Good morning. How y'all doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
I have a question for the board, and I'm wondering if you guys have any other substantial concerns about the project, because the only concern that I heard that you guys had was size and dimensions and the schematics of the properties, which I don't believe is, if when you weigh it against the impact that the project will have on the community and what he actually trying to do, that's like things that can be fixed. So do you guys have any other objections, like things that's could make, you get what I'm saying? Like any other objections that can't be fixed? Because that's something that can be altered, as when he explained that that it was basically just a rough draft of what you guys seen. So do y'all have any other like substantial objections for why y'all are opposed to it?
So I just want to be clear, the board has not taken a vote on this item yet. We're still hearing public comment. And so I think what we heard earlier was just some comments from the board about the unit sizes.
Okay.
All right, let's see if we can get Altrina Nixon back very quickly. And then I'm going to turn back once again to Mr. Dawood Bey, who's the developer, to quickly answer questions. And then I'm going to call the question from the board. So Altrina Nixon, please. Ms. Nixon, are you able to unmute yourself? There we go.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Altrina Nixon. I'm on the call because I'm trying to get information about the Minority Developer Program. I've heard about it from Charlotte Russell, and I keep looking for the emails, or I keep searching the site, and I just can't figure out how to get involved. So I figured I'd join the call. Maybe somebody can point me in the right direction.
Sure. Angel, can you?
Yeah, I will put the email of the point person for the Minority Developer program in the chat, and you can email them directly and they can give you all the information about
And what's the name of that person, please?
Todd Hestan.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad we got you back. All right. And finally, we're going to wrap up with Dawood Bey, who is the developer, to quickly provide some responses to some of the questions that have been raised. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Bey.
Thank you, Aaron. Can y'all hear me? Great.
Yes, we
My
can.
name is Dawood. Yep, my name is Dawood Bey, and as some of the speakers on the call mentioned, I am a long-term resident of South Philadelphia, particularly in the Point Breeze area. I actually grew up right there on 23rd and Tasker, around the corner from Greenwood Street, right down the street from Ringo Street. And one of the things that I wanted to first kind of bring some attention to was the affordability issue, because at the end of the day, the city is in need of affordable housing, and our main goal is to try to get as many affordable units into the marketplace and as fast as possible. One of the reasons why I joined the Minority Developer Program was to be able to get more knowledge on how to do business with the city of Philadelphia and figure out what was the best approach to try to get these properties in order to bring affordability to South Philly. I wanted to start with my affordable units, with my market rate units. Even just speaking about the market rate units, the market rate units is basically going for $1,000, right? That's actually 73% of the AMI. It's 73% AMI for the studio unit that's going for $1,000. The one bed units, I'm renting them out at $1,300. That's 65% of the AMI when you do the math and look at the math and everything. And then the 2 bedrooms, these are all market rate prices, but even the 2 bedroom is at $1,750. That's actually at 54% AMI. And then when you factor in some of the triplex units, I did the income bonus, and I had to use the income bonus. They even require me to go even below and go to 50% AMI. Each one of those triplexes have one unit in them that's going to be sold at 60% AMI. I mean, at 50% AMI because of the income bonus that requires you to do so. So I think that this is like a natural occurrence of affordability. So even though it's a market rate, when you look at, and just flip it for a second, when you look at a studio and based on the PHDC land management, you guys actually allowed me to get $1,300 for a studio. I'm putting them on a marketplace right now for $1,000. For your 1 bedrooms, you allow me to get even more for the 1 bedrooms. And then look at the 2 bedrooms. I believe you allowed me to get $196 for a 2 bedroom. At $196 for a 2 bedroom, I'm still bringing them in below that at $1,750. So I believe that's like a 54% AMI right there. So I really wanted to kind of point that out. And then I wanted to kind of speak to a little bit in regards to my experience. Although me and my wife started Fine Print Construction 5 years ago, I have over 30 years of experience in the construction and development field. Most of the residents, if you're from South Philly, if you're a long-term resident of South Philly, you know I built probably 20 houses right there in the Point Breeze area right there. I never had an issue with none of my tenants or none of the people that I sold the houses to. All of y'all know my partner Jazz, the barbershop, you understand? So we've been doing development in Point Breeze for over the last 25, 30 years. So I have the experience. Right now I'm developing a 18 unit development on North Broad Street. And that project is moving good. I have different lenders lending me money. So I have the experience on how to get these projects through in a timely manner. I never went back on my word. I never, you understand, did a job or started the job and didn't complete the job. I have no lawsuits or anything against me. And in regards to the gentleman who spoke very early in this, who lives on Greenwood Street, in regards to the basements and things like that, we're going to have to get a geotech report, and they're going to give us the direction on how to go about it in the best manner to prevent any problems with the adjacent properties. Number two, the city requires that I notify the two adjacent properties. And number three, I'm going to put each property that's adjacent, the lots that I'm building on, I'm going to put them under my insurance policy, which is over $2 million in insurance. So if anything was to happen based on construction, I guarantee that you'll be on my insurance policy. Your name, your address, your phone number will be on the policy as a secondary holder. And I will make sure that if anything go wrong with anybody's properties that's adjacent to me, because all these people is people that I knew and that I grew up with, majority of them. We got a lot of new residents that's moving in, but at the end of the day, we right here on 23rd and Tasker. We own 3 properties right there, 2316, 2314, and 2318 Tasker. So I'm always going to be available, and my family always going to be around. And I really appreciate everybody's support. And I really hope the board make this decision in favor of fine print construction.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. Okay, with that, I'm going to conclude testimony. Unless there's another comment or question from the board. I see Rick Sauer has his hand up. We're going to call the question shortly, but go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I just have a quick question around the rents being charged for the units. So it sounds like the market rate units, a 2-bedroom apartments coming in at $1,700, a studio at $1,000, 1 bedroom at $1,300. In the fact sheet for the affordable rental units, it's saying a 2-bedroom is more like $1,900. So I'm a little confused as why, quote, the affordable units are priced more expensive than the market rate units. So any clarification around what the actual rent will be charged on the affordable units, or is that just the maximum allowable rent?
That is a maximum allowable rent based on income levels for this year.
From PHFA.
Yes.
So we have, it sounds like, proposed pricing for the market rate units. Is that what the rent's going to be for the affordable units as well? Or is it going to be the higher rent that's listed in the fact sheet?
I believe we have to clarify that with the developer. Again, what we specified were the maximums for those particular levels. But those would be the ones that were subject to restrictions and actually monitoring and income requirement verifications.
So what I'm hearing from the developer is that because of the actual market conditions in the neighborhood, the rents will be less than what would technically be required as opposed to 80% of median or below. That's what I heard the developer testify to. So it sounds to me like, frankly, all of the units are going to be affordable at much deeper affordability levels than 80% of AMI. Or I think these are going to fall under the or below is what I heard the developer testify to.
Correct.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick sort of final comment. I appreciate all of the support that the developer has. I think he's going to do ultimately a wonderful job in creating these new units in this neighborhood. I appreciate the Accelerator Fund being a part of it. And again, I truly appreciate the fact that the community is standing behind this developer and is supporting this developer. However, from the standpoint of the size of these units, I go back to my original comments of being very concerned and potentially creating a precedent moving forward with the minimum livability of these units. So I would like to see the developer come back with plans that show better layouts. I think that they are surmountable. I think that the developer has a true commitment and concern for the community and will definitely do a good job. I believe that wholeheartedly. I understand the enthusiasm and I support the enthusiasm, but I'm very concerned with the long-term viability of the size and configuration of some of these units, particularly the single-family units. So that's my real concern. I don't think it's not insurmountable, but I think that I'm concerned with creating a precedent going forward. We have been at this board and have criticized private market developers in this very neighborhood for building these size units. And we have. And I want to support this developer and support this effort 100%. But by the same token, I have to be consistent across the board the way that I criticize projects. And from a design standpoint and from a just sort of ultimately a sustainability standpoint for these units, I have a concern with the size of the units.
Thank you. Board Member Goodman.
Thanks. So just a, I guess, clarification question based, related to that from staff. So if the board makes a motion to approve today, but then somewhere down the line when the design team gets on site and all that, there's a proposal to change unit sizes or unit counts or anything like that, what does the applicant have to come back to staff and or board for those types of modifications?
So depending on the extent of the changes, as long as it's not above 15% in terms of what's being approved right now, that would be an administrative change. Anything above that would require it to come back to the board and also go back to council.
Okay, thanks.
Well, the pro forma is based on the square footage of these units.
The change would also include the amount, dollar amount as well.
So back to the size of the units in relationship to the pro forma. If the pro forma is based on the size of these units, and there's a concern with some of the size of the units would have to change. Therefore, the pro forma would have to change, and the numbers would increase, right? I know we're playing that sort of that game, but
in totality, as long as we're aware of the relationship, the threshold for bringing it back to the board is 15%. If they're able to come up with a change that is under 15%, both in terms of the amount and also in terms of the size, it would not come back to the board.
Okay. And Mr. Bay, I know you have your hand up. I'm just going to allow you to answer the question on the affordability.
I actually didn't hear a question about affordability in the
So
closing.
there was
Go
a
ahead.
question raised because I think you did clarify it earlier in the
Oh, yeah.
statement, where even though you could go up to a higher rent on the 80% of median units, that you are going to, because of the actual market in the neighborhood, all the units are going to be rented or sold at a lower level. Is that accurate?
Yes, and you explained it quite well, so that's why I didn't chime back in on that. But I did want to address Michael John's concern is that I'm going to sit down and get all of these issues resolved prior, and I really don't think it's actually going to change my pro forma and number or anything like that, because you can't change the dimension of the lot. The lot is the size, it is what it is. So at the end of the day, it's just a matter of restructuring the layout, and I don't think it's going to increase any square footages because you can't make the lot bigger and you can't make it wider. So it's not going to change the numbers at all.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. And I'm going to recognize Board Member Michael Kuntz.
So since all of the apartments, all the units are going to be affordable, why aren't they shown as affordable and subject to a deed restriction?
In regards to the apartments, some of the apartments are not going to be affordable. You have some that's going to be affordable and some that's going to be market rate. So the ones that's been listed as affordable has been put on in the proposal, I believe.
But I thought that your testimony.
This is where I think we are, and I'm sorry, is I think what happens is there's a certain level of them that are required to be affordable, and those are deed restricted. The other ones are not required to be affordable, but because of the market conditions, they will be rented at affordable rents.
So it's
Because
not.
and to be
Right.
truthful, and I really just don't think I can get that higher rent right now.
Right, I was just gonna say, should the market increase, the rents on those units do have the potential to increase as well. I think that's what is being proposed here.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, I'm calling the question. I know this is a big project. There's a lot going on. And so I appreciate all the conversation and the dialogue we've had. I think it's been very helpful, hopefully for both the public to understand the project better and for the board to understand the project. And I really appreciate everybody's time on this. But I'm going to call the question from the board. Can I get a motion on this item?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I'll second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to approve the disposition of these properties for the 44 units of mixed income with home ownership and rental. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
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 I've got 4 opposed. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 4 ayes. I just want to make sure I have this right. I got to pull the board. I'm sorry. Board
You
member
just need 2
Sauer,
votes.
how do you vote?
Nay.
Okay, hold on. Okay, board member Goodman, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Rashid, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Johns, how do you vote?
Nay.
Board member Lopez Chris, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Gonzalez,
Nay.
board member Coons,
Nay.
board member Harris.
Aye.
Okay, it's 4 ayes and 4 nays, so I am the tie-breaking vote and I vote aye. However, I think we still have to come back. As our attorney is now going to advise us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, as our bylaws provide, any disposition worth $50,000 or more must be approved by a majority of the entire board, not just a majority of quorum. So since we don't have a clear decision in this case, it will have to be brought back.
Okay.
Future consideration.
So after all of that, we do need to bring this item back to the, hopefully it can come back on the December board meeting. I would say to the applicant, please use that time to work towards more workable floor plans. And hopefully we will be able to get over the hump and get enough aye votes to move this project forward. So again, I just want to thank everybody for their time discussing this. I think it was a very, very valuable discussion. And I think, you know, we will, staff will work with the developer to be able to bring this back, hopefully on the December agenda, and we can work together to move the project hopefully forward, but we'll see what we see the next time it's on the board. All right, that brings us to item 5B, which is another development, but this is for a business expansion, and the application was unsolicited.
Thanks again. And item 5B1 is in regard to a business expansion. Today, we're asking the board to authorize the disposition of properties in Kensington, 7th District, to GM Holdings LLC. The applicant wishes to expand a parking lot that already exists on the adjacent publicly owned properties. Adjacent privately owned properties. They want to expand it onto these publicly owned properties, again in the 7th District. The properties at hand are located at 3418, 3420, and 3422 Kensington Avenue. The proposal, as Ann indicated, was unsolicited and evaluated pursuant to the disposition policy. Developer will be purchasing these properties for $95,000, the determined fair market value of these properties. Evidence of project financing has been provided. The applicant's compliant and good standing with the City of Philadelphia. Project will not be subject to an economic opportunity plan given the scope. The project will also be subject to a irrevocable power of attorney and right of re-entry reverter as well. Thanks, Ann.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on this item? Go ahead, Board Member Goodman.
Thanks. Just a couple, I guess, clarification questions. So it looks like from the photos that the land is currently being occupied as parking lots. Just wanted to verify that and ask if there have been any other application history on these addresses.
So this has always been a parking lot, has been a parking lot for a while, and there have been no applications for these particular properties in my time here, and I think Angel can confirm beforehand that there have not been since prior to 2021.
I will state that there were no qualified applications that came for these parcels.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, Andrea, did we receive any comments from the public prior to the meeting?
We did not.
Okay, thank you. And now I'll open up to public comment. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak to this item? We have a hand raised by Rachel Pritzker.
Thank you, members of the board. I represent the applicant for this property. As mentioned, it's for a business expansion. This has been a parking lot for a long time that the applicant has maintained and put up fencing. This has been sort of a several years long effort, and with some of the changing disposition policies, it took a while to kind of get to this point. So we're just looking to now put it in ownership of the applicant and continue to maintain the property in a nice and safe manner as part of an existing business on Kensington Avenue.
Great, thank you, Ms. Pritzker. Any other members of the public that wish to speak to this item? All right, seeing no hand raised, can I get a motion from the board?
I move to approve the disposition.
I second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to approve the disposition of these parcels for a business expansion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And that brings us to item 5C, which is disposition for the development of affordable housing that was solicited through a request for proposal.
Thanks, Ann. Again, this was a solicited proposal. Today, we're asking the board to authorize the disposition of properties in the city's north central area, particularly the Huntroft area, to Savetta Property Group for the development of an affordable homeownership project in the 5th District. The proposal includes 71 single-family affordable homeownership units, all 3 stories without basements, and these units are ranging between 1,300 and 1,400 square feet. They will contain 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and they will be sold to households with incomes at or below 100% of AMI. The maximum sales price is to be capped at $280,000 for these units. Again, the applications were solicited via a request for proposals for these properties, and the applicant was the most qualified bidder for the properties. The properties are located at 621, 623, 2537, and 917 Diamond Street. 924, 927, 928, 936, and 936 Edgeley Street, 926 and 928 French Street, 2106, 2112, 2140, 2141, 2142, 2143, 2151, 2166, 2170, 2172, 2215, 2217, and 2219 North Franklin Street, 2112, 2130, 2144, and 2214 North Marshall Street, 2105, 2107, 2109, 2110, 2111, 2112, 2113, 2119, 2121, 2133, 2140, 2143, 2146, 2150, and 2151 North Percy Street. On Susquehanna Avenue, we have 904, 910, and 912. 2102, 2109, 2114, 2116, 2128, 2130, 2131, 2134, 2135, 2136, 2150, and 2210 North 7th Street. 2101, 2113, 2121, 2155, 2167 to 69, and 2201 North 8th Street. 2124, 2126, 2132, 2150, 2165 North 9th Street, and finally 2121 North 10th Street. Developer will be purchasing these properties at its bid price of $7,100. Evidence of project financing has been provided. They are compliant and in good standing with the City of Philadelphia. Project will be subject to an economic opportunity plan and also subject to an irrevocable power of attorney and right of reentry reverter. And the sale of all units will be subject to a declaration of restrictive covenants, and units will be subject to these use restrictions and income verifications for a minimum of 15 years. Thanks.
Any questions or comments on this item from the board?
I've got some questions. Well,
Okay.
I guess comment and questions. I mean, it's kind of back to this same developer. He's got a number of properties through the land bank, and obviously is well adept at you know, the ability to get through the process and do that, right? That being said, you know, I'm very concerned about the presentation, right? It's the same units that he shows every time, which maybe they will work at every location. He shows the same rendering from a downtown neighborhood that's not, looks like any of the neighborhoods that he's getting these properties in. There's nothing about the context of how these buildings are going to fit within those neighborhoods. I'm quite sure some of these neighborhoods have porches. They're not all stoops in the front. And so I've got to, with the number of properties that we've been able to sort of support this particular developer on, it seems to me that there needs to be better upfront planning in terms of the presentation of how these units are going to look within the context of these neighborhoods. So that's a major concern for me. And the fact that, you know, just concerned about the number of developments that this developer has received over the past couple of years. And I know we've had this conversation before, but that's a concern. It's just a real concern for me.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board or questions? Seeing none, can Andrea, did we get any correspondence from members of the public prior to the meeting?
Yes, we received a fair number of emails. I'm going to just name the person who sent them, as well as the summary of the contents of their email. The first is from Kevin Brockenbraw. Apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. He is block captain and Democratic committeeman for the 20th Ward, 5th Division. He indicated that he and his neighbors maintain several gardens on the 2100 block of North 8th Street. some of the ones he mentioned are not, most of the ones he mentioned are not owned publicly. A few are. And I will let Jesse speak to our inspection of those properties. The next one is 2131 North Franklin Street from Abdullah Hamiduddin. And he indicated that he's been cleaning the lot, gardening. Well, unfortunately, the city cut down his garden and they cut the grass. And he's also using it to do programming with kids in the neighborhood, outdoor programming. And he's asking that this be one of the lot behind his yard, which I believe is 2130 North 8th Street, be built on last. Margaret Moody is a resident of North 9th Street, 2134, and she said that she had requested, she had tried years ago to obtain 2132 North 9th Street as a civic yard. Tara Bruce, resident of South Philadelphia, indicated that she comments that all development on city land should be developed for lower income homes with 80% MI as a goal, senior housing and a recreation, as well as youth arts and education programs. And any market rate development should be declined, and that they need single family homes. And that's what she appreciates in this plan and design. Tamara Clark asked with a number of questions, which I will read very briefly because they're very succinct. What is the timeline for the proposed construction? How many units will be in each parcel of land? What are some of the properties that the applicant has already developed in Philadelphia? Does the applicant intend to hire local laborers? And if so, where do they apply? Does the applicant plan to design the facades of the properties to fit in with the surrounding properties? Does he plan to plant trees in front of the properties? What is the AMI in the area that will be used to determine affordability? And will local residents receive preference when the units are sold? And the board has received all of these emails, by the way. The last one is from Hassan Drago, who lives in the Fair Hill section of Philadelphia, and he asked how he could acquire one of the properties included in this disposition, and is very much interested in getting into the development and working on some of these projects. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I did want to make there was one more general comment from a gentleman named Charles Deiches, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he complained about how there's no way for residents to join meetings if courts are open along with all other city offices, and stated that he feels that properties are being stolen out of the communities for private gain. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to now open up to public comment. We've got a couple of hands raised. First one is Perel Jure Simmons.
Good morning. I am a resident currently in the neighborhood of the 2100 block of 7th Street. And there's several concerns that I have, with the very first being that this call was only a Zoom call, and many people in this community that have lived here for their entire lives. There's generations of people that should have been aware of this call, and it shouldn't have just been a Zoom call. We need to have actual community meetings, and the awareness and the way that these developers just come into our communities, build without any regards or any type of intentions of the quality of life that's already concerning. We just need to have a better way of communicating. There's a lot of things that we're really concerned about in this community with this bill. We have more than enough that of properties that were built that should not be standing right now today, that someone should have come out and looked to see who's building, who's getting the permits to build these properties. We have we have great concerns, and we need to have more community involvement, and these Zoom calls are not the best way to handle these, to address these concerns. There's people that are 80 and 90 years old that could not get on a Zoom call. They should have had a community meeting for us to be able to address some of these concerns. And I live in a new property now, and to say that to rent at $2,000 is affordable. That's not affordable for everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. And next we'll hear from Kevin Brockenbrough. Mr. Brockenbrough, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hello.
There we go. Go ahead, Mr. Brockenbrough.
Yes. I've been on the 2100 block of 8th Street since 1990. I've been the block captain since 93, when we were talking to the Horticultural Society and they convinced us to take on these gardens. I've maintained 21, 11, and 13 for over 29 years. Just to have somebody this summer tell me, oh, I bought 2111. No notification or anything, just knocked on my door and said he bought that part of the garden and that I had to move my stuff. We're talking about years of accumulation. So I was building a shed to house the ride-on lawnmower, the trailer, and to get the other lawn care equipment that I bought over the years to maintain these gardens. I don't have a landscaping company, so it's no reason I would own 4 lawnmowers, 6 weed eaters, leaf blowers, snow blowers, and all this crap living in the city, unless I maintain these gardens. Now, I moved my stuff off of 11, and the developer, Felix, said he would make me whole for the damages. I haven't been made whole. Yet the shed that I was building to get the lawnmower and stuff from in front of my door or out of my basement, they damaged. That's over $3,500. But they're just coming in and building these monstrous houses, and the city's pretty much saying, the heck with us that maintain these properties. When we took these gardens, we were told that they could not be taken from us or sold from under us, as long as we maintained them and kept them up. And that's what we were doing. My big garden up the street that I had since 93, that was damaged partially by the same developer that bought 11. When they tore up the fence and the front and the back and dropped a bunch of construction debris in it. The other side was tore up by the developer that y'all let build on 2144. They dumped a bunch of construction debris in the garden. Behind that, the other developer tore up the other part of the fence. So now I have a garden that's unusable, that's not on your list, but the 2 properties that were on your list, I've maintained for just as long, and pretty much y'all just said, screw me. Because according to adverse possession in the state of Pennsylvania, by rights, I would own them after 21 years. Or just for maintenance fees as a landscaper for over 29 years. Y'all would be indebted to me for enough money for me to own these properties.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
Go
just
ahead.
not fair to me. And then I'm still suffering damages from this same developer. Every unit that he's developing is taller than all these houses on this block, which are over 100+ years old, because they're built in 1915. They're multifamily dwellings, which means more cars on a block that can't handle it. And every time he builds something and they have to bring this heavy equipment through this block, it's destroying my house. The constant up and down on these trolley tracks are jackhammering our houses apart. There's no reparation in place for us. And we have nowhere to go to hang out. That's why we took these gardens, because the playground is for kids. We're adults. Adults need a place to hang out too. And that was why we took on these gardens and we invested our time and our money into these gardens, because we were told they wouldn't be taken away from us. So right is right and wrong is wrong. Come on now. If you're not going to give us the properties, make us whole for the maintenance of these properties.
Thank you, Mr. Brokenborough. Can we just get a couple clarifications here? So I would just say, I don't know why anybody would come on and say they had bought any of these properties, since we are here today to even consider the disposition of the properties. And then I don't know, you know, if there's.
To clarify, the email that was sent listed properties that are not owned and under consideration in this disposition. Those are privately held land or owned by PHA. There is one property that was listed in the gentleman's email that is owned by the land bank. And from what we can see, that is being someone's parking on it. So, which is not an allowable use. I do think that what he's discussing is there's a for-profit developer in the rear of his property that is building. That is a private transaction. That is not something that the land bank is involved with.
Okay, all right, thank you for that clarification. And I would just say for anybody listening, if that there is an application process for being able to acquire public property. And so I would encourage you you have to apply. And in the case of, if there is an adverse possession case, you also have to file an adverse possession case in the courts. It doesn't just happen. So if those things are happening, just to be aware of those things. Next, we have Charles, I'm going to say Dyches, and go ahead, Mr. Charles.
Yes, I've been living in this community since 1974. And for y'all to just sell it to any developer, you don't tell the people in the community how to purchase this land, how to acquire this land, how to acquire any houses that's being sold by PHA. It seems like everything is done underhandedly and secretly. These lots and these developers are just coming out here. They working, they mess with my mental health because you can't sleep. They drilling all times of the day, all times of the night, causing chaos, blocking this street off, that street off, tearing your car up. My grandma is 80-something years old. She cannot sleep because developers have no respect. They drop all kinds of rocks and leave all kinds of materials down there. And who is this developer that y'all are planning on selling everything to in this neighborhood? Y'all just selling everything from up under us. Everything, without giving us an opportunity. And then you pick this meeting, you pick the little things up for this meeting on the 2nd of November, and the meeting is the 15th. And you got a bunch of people, it's churches around here that should have been aware of what's going on in this community. And it should not be held on Zoom, it should be held in person.
Thank you, Mr. Dyches. I just want to clarify one thing too, because it was my understanding that we had adopted a policy that the applicant had to hold a public meeting before they came to the board. Do we know whether or not that happened?
We're under the impression that it was, and I believe the applicant is actually on. He can speak to the status of that. This is a developer that engaged with a community outreach specialist. But he would be able to speak to the status of those meetings.
Okay, I'm going to recognize Mike Tomasetti, who I believe is the developer in this case. Go ahead, Mr. Tomasetti.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone on the board. We have reached out to APM in Lamont Jefferson, which we have a meeting with later today. And we also have reached out to Shirley Kitchens. I had my director of community relations, Iris Felder, set up these meetings, and we're in the process of that right now.
So I just want to clarify, the community meeting has not been held yet, but you are in the process of setting them up. Is that accurate?
Correct, yes. Yep, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I believe the policy of the board is those meetings need to happen prior to an item being considered on the board agenda. So I'm going to take some additional, I'm going to take a couple additional comment. But then I think, frankly, we need to consider a motion about maybe bringing this back after there has been that community meeting. So I'm going to recognize Mr. Rushdie, who is the only person who hasn't spoken yet. I'm not going to recognize people who've already spoken because I think it is highly likely that this is coming back. But go ahead, Mr. Rushdie.
And thank you very much. Thank you for the board for allowing me to testify today. Again, I'm testifying on behalf of the Building Industry Association. We have been extremely active trying to help bring down the pricing of for sale housing in the neighborhoods. I think it's no secret that there has been a lot of talk about the housing boom over the last 10 years, about housing being priced in the 400s, in the 500s, in the 600s in the neighborhoods. And we do see that the program that has been adopted by council, 190606, 2 years ago, has been a game changer for a lot of private developers to come into the market and help and do some heavy lifting to bring affordable housing in scale. Even though the $280,000 is not a number that the developer is just coming up with. These numbers match the RFPs that come out by PHDC. They match, they match the guidelines that PHDC through the PHDC land management kind of tables that gets published and sent to a lot of the developers to go in and provide 100% affordable housing, unsolicited applications, again, in the attempt that we can provide hundreds of units in the market at numbers, quite honestly, without the land part being at its low basis. A lot of these deals don't pencil out. Personally, a couple of deals I have been involved in, a couple of deals others have been involved in, and I want to say these two-story single-family homes, are now costing us over $220,000 to build. That does not include any soft costs, does not include a lot of interest. We're talking about a new environment of high interest rates by lenders. So again, I don't want to go in circles here, but to bring affordable housing in scale to the city of Philadelphia and really cater to the need of 4,000 to 5,000 homes that need to be produced every year. I would encourage the board to really start looking at this from the perspective of how are we going to bring affordable housing to scale to the market. And if there is legislation out there that is adopted by council that allows that to happen, that makes it possible to bring this to scale, I hope that the board and others get behind it, because quite honestly, this is one of the only ways to bring affordable housing and home ownership and wealth creation in these communities to life. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to recognize Millicent Clark because we've already heard from Ms. Simmons and Mr. Brockenborough. And like I said, I think it's highly likely this project's coming back, but go ahead, Ms. Clark.
Yes, again, my name is Millicent Clark. I'm resident of the community, part of the advisory council, and also in the neighborhood at 8th and Diamond Recreation Center. Shirley Kitchen, she had attempted to get on very early in the meeting to ask a question. I believe that was a call that was not able to come on. I just wanted to, I had a question for Mr. Rodriguez in reference to the properties that's listed under this 5C listing, as far as them being qualified for side or rear yards. If they qualify for that, because there is several residents that expressed concern with some that's listed. And then I guess the other question was maybe even a garden. I don't know. It looks like we have items with side and rear yards, and then there was conversation about gardens opportunities for several of these properties? I guess, and that was a question for Mr. Rodriguez.
So, Ms. Clark, the properties that the land bank owns were not available for side yard or garden disposition because the priority was for development of affordable housing in the area.
Okay.
You may have heard that there was a resident who submitted an email and listed several properties and issues regarding his management of the land as side yards or garden space. Those were not land bank properties. The vast majority of them are privately held, and some were PHA. Only one was listed as land bank, and that property had a car on it. It was not a garden. So I hope that clears up your question. When we go to post properties, we do inspect them. Also, the inspection project properties, and when we post them, are included in the board package. You'll see that some of the land is managed by PHS, which is indicated by the split rail fence that's around it. Some of them are illegally occupied, where you'll see that people have taken it upon themselves to occupy the properties, either with parking and other things. So.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, there was one that, so development is the option for any of these properties that listed. I did hear as far as a comment from one of the board members in reference to the properties that's the request from the applicant, that there has been similar requests that similar in stature as far as the buildings that is being presented, as far as the presentations from the development needs to be improved.
So just so you're aware that that reference point was to a development that is not being considered by the land bank. That was done by a private developer, where he's talking about increased height. That was not what's being presented.
No, I think she said that was comments made by a board member. Not,
Yes.
so I think she's
Okay.
referring to the
Yeah.
comments made at the very beginning by board member Johns about that these drawings and everything are very similar to other projects that have been proposed by this developer. And it appears that we're kind of seeing the same exact plans and renderings over and over again, as opposed to
Yes.
maybe one specific to these sites.
That's correct. And, and it was stated that it wasn't even brought to any of the RCOs. We have several RCOs in the community, and the meeting has not been taking place. So it being said, what's going on right now, as far as discussion, it should have been, those meetings should have occurred already.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Thank you. I know we've got a few hands up, but a couple of people we've heard from before. Well, actually, we've heard from everybody who has a hand up, but I think we are almost at noon, and I know we've got some folks with a hard stop, and we've got some additional agenda items to get through. So for, to be respectful of time and to get through the whole agenda, we have a procedural issue here on this item. That the item that sort of not meet threshold to get to the board, which is you need to have your community meeting prior to coming to the board, which we heard the applicant say is in the process of being set up, but has in fact not happened. So I'm going to call a question on this item, but I would strongly encourage that the motion would be to table and to bring this back post community meeting. Can I get a motion from the board?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table item BC around the affordable housing RFP request. Table that item for today.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made or properly seconded to table this item until such time as there could be a community meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. This item is tabled and will be heard at a future agenda, land board bank meeting, once there has been that opportunity for the developer and the community to meet and have that conversation. Thank you. Thanks for everybody who got on to talk about this item, but it wasn't quite ready to come to the board yet. With that, we're going to move on to section D. These are 2 items for gardens or open space.
Good afternoon. technically morning. Today, we're asking the board to authorize the disposition of properties in the city's King Sessing area to Original American Foundation, a nonprofit for development of community gardens in the 3rd Councilmatic District. The properties are located at 1834, 1837, 1840, 1846, 1848 South Allison Street, and 5517 Pascal Avenue. The nonprofit wants to finish fencing, the lots, clean and add raised garden beds. All gardening will be done by neighbors, while these lots provide a gathering place as well. The applicant is compliant and in good standing with the city of Philadelphia. The project will not be subject to an economic opportunity plan. The properties will be subject to use restrictions as a managed open space.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this item from the board? Excuse me, seeing none, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak to this item?
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any members, did we receive any comments prior to the board meeting from the public?
Yes,
Thank you.
we
Look at this,
received one
right here. It says, ask Andrea, and I screwed it up. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Andrew Gensch sent an email saying that he's interested in purchasing the vacant lot at 5517 Pascal Avenue, which is included in this disposition. And he thinks that taxpayers would be better served by accepting his offer and putting the property on the tax rolls. He also intends to use the property as open space. He lives at 5513 Pascal Avenue and therefore would not qualify. Even if this property were available for side yard, he would not qualify for a side yard. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have one hand up from the public, Jovian Patterson.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Hi, everybody. I am Jovian of Original American Foundation. I am the chairman. I just want to say that we have been working in that area for about maybe 2 to 3 years. We've done a lot of good in the community. We grew our vegetables. We've built benches out there. We've tried our best to stop the dumping because there's a lot of dumping in that area. Actually, as we speak now, there is a condemned car on Allison Street. Don't know where it came from. Don't know who put it there, but we are in the process of getting that removed. I actually grew up in the area. I lived in 3 different houses actually on Allison Street. And I just had to come back and do something good for the community. We give out collard greens and mustard greens for Thanksgiving. We're planning a lot of fundraisers, just a lot of good stuff going on in that area. And we have a lot more to come in the future. Just, putting that out there just to know we are doing good things with all those spaces. And like Mr. Rodriguez mentioned, we're doing sitting areas, other different areas for fundraising purposes, community barbecues. We do workshops in that area. We actually teach people in the area, low-income folks, self-sustainability techniques as far as building raised garden beds, planting their own produce, whether it be for their own community garden or it be for their homes. Just teaching general self-sustainability. We want to grow our projects. We want to expand even more. We hope to work with the land bank and different, just different people in the community. And I reach out to other people that spoke earlier about their other projects to reach out to us because we are willing to expand in different parts of the city. We just plan on expanding in general. We plan on doing big things, and I yield right there. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. And then we have a hand up by Allison Macrina. Or we did have a hand up. Ms. Macrina, would you like to comment on this item?
Yes,
Oh,
I lowered my hand because I thought you were calling on me.
Yes, great.
Thanks so much. Hi, my name is Allison Macrina. I just want to offer my support for the Original American Foundation. I'm a neighbor. I live not too far away from their gardens. And as soon as I learned about it, I asked Jovian and Rob if I could get involved as a volunteer. And I started organizing some other neighbors into working on it. And I just think, I mean, they've done so much already with the garden. They're both highly knowledgeable, really passionate people, super dedicated to the community and the neighborhood, both lifetime residents. I'm really impressed by both the work that they've already done and the ambitions that they have for this space. I think in particular, what impresses me is the plans they have for supporting both youth and elders in the neighborhood, which is so important for an area of Southwest like this that's really surrounded by industrial areas. They've done a lot of canvassing in the neighborhood, organizing a lot more people into the work. I have been talking to my neighbors about the project. People are so excited to get involved. And we basically have like a whole crew of volunteers that's mobilized and ready to do the next steps. So I just want to offer my unqualified support for it. And I hope you all will approve this. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Looks like Mr. Patterson still has his hand raised, but we did hear from him. So I am going to call the question. Can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to approve the disposition of these properties for community garden. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And the next one we have is also for a garden open space, item D2, 5804 Hazel Avenue.
Today, we're asking the board to authorize the disposition of properties in West Philadelphia's Cobb's Creek area to Mending Broken Wings Foundation Incorporated, a nonprofit for the development of an infill community garden in the 3rd Councilmatic District. The lot is located at 5804 Hazel Avenue. The nonprofit has been maintaining the lot and will complete the development of this lot with additional plantings. The nonprofit intends to maintain the lot as a gathering space for neighborhood seniors and young adults to connect. The nonprofit has been vetted and is compliant and in good standing with the city of Philadelphia. The project will not be subject to an economic opportunity plan. The property will be subject to use restrictions as a managed open space.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on this item? Seeing none, are there any members of the public that wish to? And I have a hand up by Stephanie Scott.
Yes, hi.
there.
Hi, I'm the applicant for the garden, my foundation, and my whole point is, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. You broke up on us for a minute there, Ms. Scott, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So the goal is to basically bridge the gap between the seniors and the children and basically like enhance unity in the community. Because at some point when I was younger, like it was where like you get your wisdom, where you get your foundation is from the seniors. And there's a disconnect. And I feel as though that would help like bridge it and help with a lot of the violence and give kids direction, you know, and as well as teaching healthy ways of living, teaching them how to grow, teaching the seniors how to grow. Because over the quarantine, I found that like myself, I experienced like depression and anxiety just for 1 year. So imagine the things that seniors who have been in the house all this time, period, that all they do is go to the market and do different things and don't have an outlet, and the kids' anxiety they experience in the streets. So I figured this would be a safe zone, a safe place where they can sit there and learn coping mechanisms, healthy mechanisms, and make better impact in the world and make a better generation. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Scott. All right, I don't see any other hands up from the public, so I'm going to call the question. Can I get a motion from the board?
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to approve the disposition of 5804 Hazel Avenue for a community garden or open space. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries, and that brings us to section E, which is disposition for side or rear yards. Unless any member of the board has a issue with either of these, I would suggest that we take them both together.
So,
Angel, go ahead, please.
okay, today we're asking the board to authorize the disposition of the following properties as side yards in two different sections of the city. In the first councilmanic district, we have 2039 East Fletcher Street, requested by co-applicants Connor Kingsley and Gabrielle Gionnet. I hope I pronounced that well, in CD7. Sorry. And in the third councilmanic district, we have 239 North Paxton Street, requested by the applicant Bonnie Magrum. All applicants are compliant and in good standing with the city of Philadelphia. The projects will not be subject to an economic opportunity plan. The properties will be subject to use restrictions as a side yard.
And I just want to clarify, 2039 East Fletcher Street, is that in CD1 or 7?
No, my apologies, guys. As I was reading this, I understood it. It's in the first councilmanic district. It is, there are co-applicants. One of the applicants, Gabrielle, resides in
the 7th?
Yeah. And
If
that
she's
was
like
my
across the street or something?
Right.
Okay,
It was just a little note I had in my.
yeah.
Angel, can you explain that a little bit? Like, so can you, because it looks like it's for one, like the applicant is one house. And then that property runs behind a bunch of houses down the block. So is there another applicant in a different house? Did I misunderstand it?
I would have, and I apologize for this. I would need to look that up. So. Andrea, are you aware of the?
Just looking online, it looks like both are in the 7th district, both are in the same council district.
Right.
The 7th.
Andrea, you were muted when you.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted. So the question was whether the lot extends behind a number of homes. Yes, it does. We had originally had an applicant in another one of the homes on Coral Street who knew that they were going to be leaving and therefore decided not to proceed with the acquisition. And their neighbor was very interested. So that is this applicant, and they wish to acquire this.
Okay, so both of these applicants, do they reside in the same property and they're going to get a side
Yes.
yard? Is that accurate?
Yes,
And
they're both on the deed to the home from what
okay, and can we clarify that
This is in the.
that the
7th district.
district line does not go down the middle of this lot, right? Everything's in the
correct.
7th. It's just
Yes,
a typo
that-
on the agenda. Okay.
And
great.
the owners of the home are adjacent to this land?
Correct.
It seems, so once again, I'm not quite sure why we're disposing of a side yard in a neighborhood that has like high property costs when we could be potentially marketing that property for something affordable. And I think it's really convenient that this applicant would now own property behind all of their neighbors' houses. I mean, if I was the neighbor, I'd be like, oh, well, I don't have access, like, great. Like, I don't get to use anything behind my house. I don't know if I don't know if that feels very equitable for the rest of the neighbors who now suddenly can't access any of the property behind their house.
Well, they couldn't well, let me just say this, and I apologize for misspeaking that it was in the 1st district. It being in the 7th district does clarify some things. So to your question, Rebecca, this type of property, which is a one-off and single standing, we, as has been reported to the board previously, we always post properties for disposition in conjunction and working with the local council office. This council office historically has prioritized side yard dispositions and would not consider what this would have to be as a competitive sale posted for a developer to apply for it. So that is why, and also to couple that with the idea is that, we look at what completed applications we get for the allowable use. given the fact that it is adjacent technically to the property. The property is of a size that allows it to be disposed of as a side yard, and that there is support for it from the council office when we were processing this prior to the changes, is why we brought it to the board.
When you say prior to the changes, you mean prior to the election
yes.
changes?
Correct.
Okay, so I mean, I think that's a big thing to keep in mind, that, you know, just because a previous leader didn't agree with that type of development, I mean, we haven't talked to the new council person. I mean, it just is like, if I lived in that block, it'd be galling to me that like somebody swooped in behind me or whatever. It just seems like bizarre, you know.
Well, I think that it infers that we're actively trying to market properties. So we don't typically do that on side yard applications. We don't knock door to door, say, hey, somebody applied. In essence, this is a non-competitive disposition. By doing what you're inferring would create a competitive disposition. So, and at that time, then you're kind of defeating the purpose of the side yard legislation.
Yeah, I would just clarify. I mean, I don't think what's being recommended is competitive disposition. I think it's being like noticed to say, hey, but it would be very complicated, I would say. I think we just got to be clear, right? That it looks like there's 3 or 4 houses that back up to this, although each of those properties also have some kind of rear yard. And then it looks like this property actually is perpendicular and so fronts on a different street, and there probably was room to build a structure on that at one point. But I think what makes this complicated is if you were going to subdivide this lot into 3 or 4 pieces, it would be very, very complicated to then try to dispose, right? Probably each one of those lots would be non-conforming, and you have to go to the ZBA and you'd have to do a subdivision and yada, yada, yada. That being said, even though it's an unsolicited, I'm assuming, Angel, that posting requirements were met.
Right.
And not that everybody in the community sees the poster and all of that, but there should be some, there was some notice provided that this is what was going on. And Andrea, I haven't gotten to you yet, but I'm assuming, I don't know, did you get any public comment on this with people complaining?
I did not. No public comment on either side yard.
All right. That being said, I do think Board Member Lopez Chris does raise some valid points in that we should probably revisit sort of the policy in this district now that there is a new district person elect, and see what direction they would like to go. That being said, we know that we also have applicants that are in the middle of the process and doesn't necessarily feel okay to just wipe out all those applications to see if there's now a new policy in place.
Well, and I think the other key issue that Rebecca was raising is it looks like, as you pointed out, the property is sort of perpendicular and runs behind all the 4 or 5 other properties on the adjacent street. So are people opening up their back doors and now that's no longer their space?
Was
Maybe
never their
technically
space.
it legally wasn't, but
It was never their space. They all have fences in the rear. So I don't want there to be some kind of understanding that this was public space that people all had access to. They did not. This is a perpendicular lot. They all have rear yards, which are fenced off, outlining their property lines. So this is not as if this is a loss.
okay. So it's not like this lot comes up to the buildings. There's rear yards for all those properties still.
Correct.
Okay. Not clear based on the little schematic sketch there that that's the case.
Any other comments from the board? All right, we do have a couple of members of the pub, and any comments did we receive on? I know we didn't receive anything on this item, but did we receive anything on 239 North Paxton?
Well, just to clarify very quickly. So I'm not suggesting that we would divide a parcel by 4 so everybody would get like their own little side yard. But I do feel like as a single parcel, there are other houses built at 2037 Fletcher. Like, I'm not quite sure why, I mean, I understand that like there were previous policies in place that because of leadership in that district, that folks were not interested in development, but I think we should be talking about it but it is not clear to me that every one of those properties has a yard behind their house. If I look at Atlas, only 3 of them do. And the other 3, there are 3 properties that butt directly against the lot line. It looks like from Atlas, it looks like there's structures that go directly against the lot line. So it's just a comment. I know we're going to look at these together, but this is like something, it's like my one pet peeve about side yards. Like what, this could potentially be an affordable house in a district with rapidly increasing prices.
Noted. Andrea, did we receive any comment for 239 North Paxton Street?
We did not.
Okay, I'm gonna go now to the hands up we have from the public. First one is Connor Kingsley. Go ahead, Mr. Kingsley, you should be able to unmute yourself. You're unmuted there for a second. Can we go to Gabrielle Gionnet while we wait for Mr. Kingsley, please?
Hi, I'm talking to Connor on text. He's having difficulty with technical stuff on his phone. But yeah, we're the applicants for the Fletcher Street lot. So I just wanted to add in here that we're excited to have a side yard. With reference to the actual plot, all of our neighbors do have backyards. They just have like fences around them, as you said, outlining their property. And the plot right now is fenced off with a metal gate and a chain, so no one has access to it. And in fact, it has quite a lot of debris in it. So we're willing to come in and we want to clean it up and plant some plants and stuff like that, just to create more of a green space. And then I do hear what you're saying about the potential of building, I guess, something in that area. But I would say it is really beneficial in our area. We have a lot of neighbors that do want green spaces, and we're excited to kind of share this space a bit that we have. And if there was a building there, it would kind of block a bit more of sunlight for the other buildings on Fletcher Street. So yeah, we think that a side yard would be a great use, and we'd be excited to have it and clean it up.
Great, thank you. And I'm assuming Connor would give us very similar comments as well. All right, that is who we have for public comment. So I'm going to call the question, which is to approve these 2 side yard dispositions.
I make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to approve 2039 East Fletcher Street and 239 North Paxton Street for disposition as side yards. Are we still okay with taking these both together?
Given the concerns that Rebecca raised, I think it'd be preferable to vote on them separately.
Okay, so can I get a motion on 2039 East Fletcher Street?
Can I make a
approval?
Oh,
go
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to make a motion to table it so we could reach out to the council person.
I second that motion.
Can I just point out, just clarification? Councilperson does not get sworn in until January.
Okay.
That's accurate.
Say that again, Joshua?
That's accurate.
So what we are saying is we're tabling it until that person is.
Hold on. Order. We had a board member who was making a motion, and then we had another board member come in and make another motion. So I got to handle the first motion that was made. Okay. So there was a motion made starting to be made by Board Member Gonzalez. Board Member Gonzalez, please let us know what your motion is that you were going to make.
My motion is for approval of disposition of these parcels for side yards.
Okay, and we're taking them separately. So is your motion to approve 2039 East Fletcher Street?
Yes.
Okay, can I get do I have a second on that motion?
I'll
All right.
second.
What? Go ahead.
I second the motion.
Okay, second. All right. So there's a motion on the floor with a second to approve the disposition of 2039 East Fletcher Street. I'm going to try to do this in as one, but I may end up having to pull. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
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 Okay, I got 4 opposed, 4 in favor. I would vote aye, but that doesn't get us there. So it looks like this is coming back next month or whenever. Okay, so the vote is going to be officially 5-4 on that motion, but that does not let us to do a disposition because it's not a majority of 11 members, which would be 6. We only have 5 ayes. So that, so in effect, that side, your disposition gets tabled and we'll have to come back at a later date. It would be strongly suggested that there may be a check-in with the council person-elect, recognizing that they won't officially be sworn in until January. So that brings us to 239 North Paxson Street.
I
Can I
ask
get a
a point of
motion on that one?
clarification.
Yes.
In the past, I have, in terms of dispositions, without somebody having the authority to effect the disposition. And this is just past practice because we've had other elections. Usually these conversations are held after the person is duly sworn in.
So again, I think it's just a conversation that is being had. It's not sort of a yes or no vote, I would say. I think it's just a conversation being recommended. I mean, that's sort of, I don't know what to say beyond that.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to 239 North Paxson Street as a disposition for a side or rear yard. Can I get a motion on that item?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion has been made and properly seconded to dispose of 239 North Paxson Street as a side or rear yard. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Phew, good work, everybody. Is there anybody that wishes to approach the board about any other issues very briefly? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will see folks back here in December. Thank you all for your patience, for your comments, for your discussion, for your openness to share. And it sounds like we're going to see many of these items back either in December or January. So we look forward to speaking with everybody then, and we hope everybody has a fabulous Thanksgiving. Thanks so much.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.